What's up, Reid Presley? Man, I ain't seen you really. I can't remember the last time I actually saw you. I guess it was at the karate tournament at the battle.
Yeah.
Oh, no, wait.
No,
I saw you in Orlando. I went to Orlando. I didn't go to any other tournaments but those two.
Has it been since nothing else? Just that little conversation.
I didn't go to any of the regional stuff. We talked on the phone. No, we went and had dinner that one night.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
That's
what it was. Yeah, I'm sitting here with Reid Presley, world champion martial artist, entrepreneur, stunt performer, rock and roll super. I'm just kidding.
It's like,
this kid's done it all, though. You've done a lot of stuff, man. And I've known you, man. I've probably known you 10 or 15 years now. You know, seen you come up in the circuit, the sport karate circuit, work your way up to the stage, to ruling the stage, conquering the stage with your double bow staff.
That's right.
Seen you do some TV shows, and I've your whole family has, like, actually, you guys, all of y'all do that. Now here you are, you got a business you're trying to get off the ground, getting going.
Yes, sir.
Which is all really cool, man. I can't. When I was, like I said, man, when I was a little bit younger, I wasn't doing those things. So, man, what's good? What's going on with you, man? How's things going?
I mean, first off, it's super cool to be here. Super excited.
Yeah. First podcast?
That not the first podcast, but first podcast with you.
With me, yeah. Yeah, this is my new endeavor.
Yeah.
This is my new endeavor, personally. Just was looking for a way to kind of get my voice out there. But I really been interested in talking to just cool people like you who are out there doing the work, man.
Doing it up.
And you're doing it every day. I mean, I've seen your videos on social media. You're doing online classes. I mean, you don't have a free. It seems like if I try to text you, it's like somewhere between 30 minutes and 36 hours when you respond.
I'm working on that. I'm figuring out my
personal assistant
day-to-day schedule. Yeah. That's definitely a goal, is to have
time management a thing.
Yeah, working on it every day.
That's cool.
But no, I mean, between running a competition team, family business, building a business, training athletes, training instructors to train athletes, I mean, it takes a lot of time. And then also trying to figure out the social media algorithm, build your platform and voice. I mean, it takes a lot, but I'm enjoying every minute of it.
Yeah. Man, I think I want to delve back a little bit with you, man. So just kind of tell everybody a little bit I've known you from the karate world. All right. You're a karate kid. How'd you get into karate, man?
So I got into karate, or martial arts, taekwondo. Not entirely sure what the biggest motivator was for my parents, other than I know that they wanted to put me in either something that they don't even really talk about what the other option was, or martial arts. And I had a friend, his name was Chase, that had like a bring a buddy, break a board type of class. I could go to Bartlett Taekwondo. Started taking martial arts at that class, fell in love with it, and the rest was kind of history from there. So it was thank you to Chase. I don't have contact with him anymore.
Chase, if you're out there,
I know if you're listening.
Appreciate you, buddy.
But that school, Bartlett Taekwondo, is where I started in martial arts, met my still instructor, Jason Warren. It's where my entire family got started in martial arts, got exposed to the competition world.
And your dad was in martial arts?
I was actually the first Presley.
Oh, okay.
I always say, like, other than Elvis, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I was the first Presley of my family to do it. And then my dad saw a family class of a dad and two sons taking martial arts. And it was that moment that he was like, we got to get the whole family involved. So myself, brother Cole, Jake, sister Avery, mom, dad, we're all black belts.
Your mom took it?
She is. Yeah.
She's a black belt?
She's a black belt.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Took her a little longer because, she got started, then Jake
had kids.
Got started again, and then Avery.
Oh, wow.
So finally got it. But yeah, we're all martial artists. Loved it so much.
You guys are like the Von Erichs.
I guess so.
You have your own movie in a few years.
Yep.
No, really, like you guys, the whole family does it. And you got when did you start your school? You're at the SMAC school.
So I was talking to my instructor yesterday. I believe that school's been there for 15 or more years. They got it from another two ladies that were doing the martial arts school. They kind of wanted out. Mr. Warren, he always wanted to have a martial arts school of his own. And so they got SMAC, Success Martial Arts Center. And really, the rest is history.
Was that what it was called before you bought it?
Yes.
Okay.
And so they kept the name, and that's where we did like all of our training. That's how we really jumped into the martial arts scene, because the school was a way for us to impact the community, but it was also a way for us to afford the ability to go travel the North American Sport Karate Association circuit, which is where we really kind of made a name for ourselves in the competition sport karate world.
How'd y'all get into that? Because my brother did that, and I know how he got into it. It was sort of like he just kind of got lucky.
Yeah.
But how did you get into it? What I mean by that is, like, how'd you get into it, first exposed to it, and then, how did you kind of really get roped into it, by getting on teams and just kind of doing the tour?
Yeah. You might have to cut me off as I monologue a little bit, but it's a whole story.
What was your first tournament?
Started it. I'm not going to remember the name, but started at Bartlett Taekwondo.
Yep.
Met the instructor, Jason Warren.
Yep.
He had a competition team called the Extreme Team, and my dad really had to convince him that I would be worth putting on that just school competition team. Once that happened and I got on the Extreme Team, that's when I started competing on RSKC, which was a very local tournament.
I know what that is.
And you might know the
Regional
acronym that it
Sport
was.
Karate Circuit.
There it is.
That was Ken Eubanks' circuit.
Yep. And that tournament, I think the first tournament I ever competed in, I got second place. And then at that point, little 6-year-old Reid, I wanted to get a trophy that was bigger than me. That was the goal. How can I
get the 6-footer?
Get the 6-footer.
Yeah.
It worked because it got me motivated and addicted to competition.
So that was your motivation at that age.
It was. It was. And now I could still get a 6-foot trophy and it'd still be taller than me. But
I think I've got one in the back.
Yeah. And that circuit overlapped with the North American Sport Karate Association, NASCA circuit, the Bluegrass Nationals.
So your first tournament?
That was my first tournament. That was my first big NASCA boy tournament. First NASCA tournament.
That was my brother's first big.
And it was, how the tournament circuits work is at a bigger event, you have your divisionals, and if you win, you have your runoffs where they eliminate everybody. And then you can go to the night show to do I know you know all this, but to anyone who doesn't, then you compete to see who's the winner of winners.
Right.
And going to that night show, I just remember seeing the top competitors, Matt Immigs, the Casey Marks, the Kalman Chokas, the John Sues, the Gabe Rignagas, all of these top competitors being I have to get up on that stage. That's now the big trophy for me. It's how can I get up there? And we did RSKC for a number of years. There was a Triple Crown winner, so that was a regional circuit goal where if you won forms, weapons, and fighting. I did all of the styles of competition, but in sport karate you have performance-based martial arts where you're trying to be a superhero, trying to be Captain America, trying to show off your skills. Then you have point fighting, which a game of fast chess where you're trying to kind of understand the opponent, strike them, can't knock them out, but And so I got Triple Crown in RSKC while I was slightly going into NASCA. Started to go to some of the tournaments like the Battle of Atlanta, Diamond Nationals, some of the bigger events that got me exposed to that NASCA circuit. After I started doing all of that, it's now the time to go from that regional circuit to more of that national global circuit. And then that just opens up a whole new door of opportunity. You're seeing higher level competition, really the best competitors in the sport karate world go to these. And it was those tournaments that really got me the exposure to the bigger teams and kind of put it to the test of make or break. Do you really have what it takes to go the full 9 yards?
Yeah. Man, you're bringing back some OG names, man. And so what was your initial style? Taekwondo. And then when did you kind of transition to extreme?
I mean, it was pretty.
Was it just sort of a natural transition? I know a lot of Taekwondo kids do that.
It was pretty natural.
Did you know, like, oh, I saw this, I want to do that?
Yes, and
who was your guy? Was it Matt?
It was Matt. It was really what I remember thinking back, way back to when I was like 5 to 10 years old. It was Casey Marks comes up more like in my memory of watching her perform more than anybody else. I think it was because I did bow staff, the big stick.
Yeah.
And she was really well known for that at the time, probably the top bow staff competitor. So she was a big motivation since that was my weapon. And then Matt Emig, just because he was sheer explosive intensity and performance. Yeah. As I developed in my career and started going into, the double bow staff, which is 2 big sticks. Kalman was the double sword competitor at the time. Right. So looking up to how he maneuvered 2 weapons and being like, all right, I need to emulate that type of energy.
How long was it before you actually made it to the stage? How many years? Was it quick? Did it take a little bit?
At first, it happened once pretty quickly. It was at the AKA Grand Nationals is what I think they called it back then. Now it's the Warrior Cup. I was 9, fact check, somewhere in there, 8 to 10, new black belt, and I made it to the Warrior Cup round, which is like this big, massive trophy that everybody wants.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was 17 and under would compete for it. So I was young little dude, and there was a 17-year-old Canadian young lady that was competing. We both did trad bow, I think, traditional bow staff.
Yeah.
I lost, but that was my first stage appearance, and I'm kind of thankful for that loss because thinking back on it, every time there was like a loss or a setback, there was normally like a double down of skill, like you like improve from the loss. If I would have won the prestigious Warrior Cup that fast, would I have been able to stick to it the 15 plus years of competition? I don't know the answer to that, but my career has been full of adversity and setbacks that turned me into the competitor that I was. And so I'm kind of thankful that there wasn't that like big win right out the gate.
Yeah. So you took losing as kind of fuel.
Yes.
To make you better. As
Absolutely.
opposed to like turning, tucking tail and going back.
I quit. Yeah.
Which it happens out there, definitely in the sport karate world. But what was your first? I don't know if I remember this, but what was your first big win?
I think my first overall wins, like winner for winners, went through divisions, went through the runoffs, made it to stage. I want to say it was at Amerikick, like 20. Really? I'm terrible with years.
Sure.
What you'll get to know is I very much was a competitor of in the moment.
Who were you up
have
against?
To win.
Who were you up against?
Oh man, myself. I
get
that. I had to beat myself at the time. The people that was competing, I'm not 100% sure of the tournament, but it would be going against the competitors: Austin Crane, Tyler Weaver, Micah Carnes, Shaheen Jahanvash, Colt Eckert, Ross Constam, Ryan Wells. Those would have been the people that I would have had to beat back then to get to that spot. I forgot a lot of those names,
but you're bringing them up. I'm like, oh yeah, I would have. How were you just? Was that like still in juniors then?
Yes, I believe I was 14.
Okay, and that's when you got your first big win.
Yep.
I bet that was fun.
It was a surreal feeling. Finally getting to actually win because like it made it to the runoffs and had lost there, made it to stage, break my bow or drop, and if that happens, then you get disqualified. You're eliminated. So this sport is a very perfectionistic type sport. If you make any mistake, then you're very unlikely to win. So you have to train hours and hours and hours to get as close to perfect as you can. So there's a lot of opportunity to fail. So that's why I had to learn to fail forward as much as possible.
How do you condition your mind for that, man? It's not all about your physicality.
No, I was talking to some athletes about it today, actually, through training them, where everybody's mindset is going to be different, and finding what works for you is going to be a journey. But for me, it first starts with doing enough reps to have confidence that you can execute and actually do what you've been training to do. And then you have to gear your training to get you as close to that moment on stage where your adrenaline spikes, there's lights on your face, your heartbeat starts going up, and you have to perform it in a much more higher pressure environment. And so through the training, are you training with the lights off? Are you just doing forms back to back to back? Are you visualizing the performance? Are you doing like a dress rehearsal in your training? It takes all these little small aspects of how can I put myself in the moment. In business, it's almost like the same as role playing with your team or role playing with yourself. Like, okay, I have a customer coming in. How's that interaction going to go? Mm-hmm. How can I put myself in that mindset of being able to be friendly when I see them? How do I act if this happens and it throws me off guard? So it's just it's a puzzle almost, but you gotta figure it out for yourself.
That kind of sounds like you really enjoyed that part.
Yes,
you enjoyed the work of it.
I was a mindset competitor. So what I mean by that is, going back to the comment where I said it's almost hard for me to recall these certain tournaments or who I was competing against in these divisions because I was so much about me and the performance, not in a selfish way, but like I had to beat myself in my head and I had to get past any doubt. So it's like I have to put myself in that position as often as I possibly can to boost the confidence and become almost like my biggest cheerleader. Like, all right, I got this. I'm in the zone. I've done this 1,000 times. I can execute. And so learning that I was my own worst enemy kind of competitor taught me to kind of just train against myself almost.
Really? So when you got on stage, like you really weren't thinking, oh, I'm going up against my brother. I'm going against Jackson. I'm going against I'm competing with just me.
Yes.
That's all you had to worry about.
That's the main thing, because I came to realization is if I can go up there and I can perform, whether it's forms and I'm flipping or it's weapons, and I can execute and nail my performance, then I'm going to be really hard to beat. If I were to, so like I had strategies and whatnot that would play into my competition, but really it was how can I go execute?
Right.
And there would be times where if someone made a mistake or maybe somebody did a new move or something that really got the crowd or the judges to pique their interest, and maybe I had to change my game plan slightly on the fly. But most of the time it was just go do my thing and see if it happens.
Did you ever call an audible in your middle of your form? Huh? Like when the crowd was into something, you're like, all right, I'm gonna try something real crazy.
Yes.
You have?
It's really hard to put into words. I think Tim Grover does a good job in his book Relentless, where he talks about like getting into the zone. Like, you don't recognize the stage lights anymore. You don't see the crowd. You're totally just almost watching yourself compete from a point of view, like your own point of view.
Really?
And then you actually do things that are more instinctual than they are planned. So there's been moves where I feel like it'd be very hard to communicate what the moves were on camera without showing it. But there would be times where I would just be feeling the performance and like, hey, I'm coming up on my final move. Let me just go ahead and try this. But I'm not really thinking that in the moment. I just do it. It just happens. It happens on accident. And so, yeah, getting in the zone is a crazy feeling.
Yeah, I know. We know what we're talking about. Enough people who have never, who are maybe watching or listening, have never been to a NASCAR event and seen. I've watched this stuff for my entire life, and so I've seen it. And, but I bring a friend to the show, and I'm like, oh man, it's the coolest thing I've ever seen. So most people who don't know, what we're talking about, probably have a hard time visualizing, but it is really cool to see like the competitors get up there and really kind of. I remember one time at the battle, we were both, you and I were both backstage, and I was shuttling people up and down to up and down the stairs. And I remember you standing back there, and like This was like in your prime too, when you were like at the top, and it was like you were just back there, kind of like, I was like, "You ready to go?" And you're like, it's almost like you didn't want to talk to me.
Yeah.
you were like, "Yes, you just did this," and then that was about it. But I was like, "Man, you look scared." That's what I was thinking in my head, which I don't think you were at the end of the day. Because it's like you get on there and it's like a switch flips, and it's like all of a sudden it's just like this Tasmanian devil goes loose up there, and it's just cool to watch.
No.
Because your brothers were the same way too. I loved watching the whole Presley family, even Jackson. You guys would get up there, and I always felt bad for Cole, especially at the battle. It seems like 9 times out of 10 he dropped his commas. 9 times out of 10, and he was always had such cool moves. I think that's why. But obviously, it's a much more difficult weapon to hold on to than a bow staff or a sword. But yeah, man, you guys were always fun to watch.
It's like,
and like the older you got, the longer you did it, the more you just kind of owned it.
Yeah, you build the repetition to be able to continually just get better and better. You're getting faster, you're getting stronger, you have more confidence. But I've been thinking about this a lot through conversations that we've been having, and really with how I work with martial arts instructors on how to do this sport karate, creative martial arts, or how can we make the performance or the shows more entertaining. And where I'm getting with this is how to describe what we do to somebody that has no idea. Like it is martial arts, but it's almost closer to, I'm just going to throw some random examples out, maybe they resonate. Like you have X Games, like Tony Hawk, and these athletes have this big ramp that they're going to be doing the skateboarding on, and they have a routine in their mind that they're going to go perform. I don't know any skateboarding terminology or terms or whatnot, but you see them enter the ramp and they go up and they do a trick, then they come down and they do another trick.
Yeah.
And then they get scores based off of that. And it's super entertaining, even if you're not a skateboarder, to see them, the board's spinning, they're landing, they're moving faster, and it's just entertaining to watch because you can appreciate the skill. Or like gymnastics, where if they're doing a floor routine, they are going to be executing gymnastics, but a person watching this is not going to know that they're doing a full in, back out, or a double backflip or a back handspring, but they can still appreciate all the work that goes into the performance of this person standing on a platform.
Yeah.
That they're highly skilled, they carry a certain amount of confidence, and they're executing these high-level moves. So I'm going with the martial arts is we are doing martial arts moves that you could see in a Jackie Chan movie, or you could see it in Avengers, Captain America, Iron Man. We're flipping around. We're doing backflips. We're throwing our weapons up in the air. We're spinning, and it really is like a superhero fight scene with invisible enemies, but we're just doing cool stuff in the middle of it. So if you haven't seen it, I highly encourage you to go watch, because whether you like Star Wars or anime, it's all of that stuff. Here's another thing. People who are performing the lightsaber moves or the high-level moves in those superhero movies typically come from sport karate.
Yes.
So if you want to see superhero moves, like where they come from, it's sport karate.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, most of the I think that's when sometimes I tell people, I've got a lot of friends that are in the stunt business, and it's because of that, because I've been, in that martial arts world for so long. Even though I'm not a martial artist, I've been in it and around it for forever. And it's like I was watching Ahsoka. I was watching The Mandalorian season 2. It's just the episode where Ahsoka pops up, and I'm watching this show, and I didn't know, but Ahsoka does a very specific move. It's called a Webster. And I was like, so I literally immediately I text Caitlin to show, and I was like, are you in Ahsoka? She's like, yeah. And it's only because I know for a fact that's her signature move. And I know how she does it, and I've seen it so many times. I was like, and when I saw that a Ahsoka character do it, I was like, okay, cool. My friend Caitlin is on Ahsoka, And people don't realize that, they come out of sport karate. They start off, just like you said, in little taekwondo schools, and they kind of work their way up the regional circuits, up to the national, to the worlds. And, and then once they've conquered that gigantic mountain, it's like, all right, I'm going to go move on and go do stunts. And so many people have done that, for years.
100%.
Yeah.
I think of Ross Constam. He's someone that was on, AKA friend of mine, competitor, AKA is American Karate Association. It was a big team. It wasn't the most recent Spider-Man game. I think I'm just going to say it was Spider-Man 3 or the one that was on the PS3, I believe. Mm-hmm. And he did, like, I think most of the motion capture. So anybody that's played that game and saw Spider-Man, like, do flips and hit the enemies or do different poses, like, that's what we do just inside of a...
Yeah, I've seen Matt Himmick on some of those.
Mm-hmm.
Have you done any mocap?
I haven't.
No. They ain't got those bow staffs out, them double bow staffs together for you?
Not yet. People have been interested with it.
But you have done television.
A little bit. I leave that to the younger brother, Jake, but the...
Now, he's doing stunts full time.
Yes.
Is he working? Ish,
yeah. He's trying to make a name for himself. He can move really well and he has the look.
You know what's funny about stunts? This is what I've learned through my friends, down in Atlanta. Yeah, they're all martial artists and they get to do cool martial arts stuff. But it seems like most of the time it's all about taking a hit, taking a fall, getting hit by a car.
He's already broken his leg once since being
really?
Out there, so
wow.
He's recovered now, but he's getting back into it again. So
is that why you kind of like, I don't really want to be in stunts?
Yeah, I think he's fully dedicated. It's just there's always these setbacks. I think he got a taste of the I don't know if show business is the right word, but being on set when he was on The Accountant with Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I remember that movie. Yeah.
So that.
I remember they called us. They called the karate tournament number, and we're like, "Hey, you guys know a 10-year-old martial art?" I think he was 10 at the time. We're like, "Yeah, we do," and we immediately gave him Jake's number, Jake's info, and he called your dad. And Dad told me that they liked Jake so much that they actually added him more scenes for him so that he could.
I think so.
Could perform a little bit more, which is cool.
It was.
Yeah, it was cool. I saw him. I actually didn't see that movie right away. Like it was like way further down the line before I actually like sat and watched it. But I actually enjoyed that movie. It was pretty cool. Yeah, but he was also in Into the Badlands with you guys too.
He was. He was.
There's a lot of kids in that too.
It was a huge. Like there's a couple scenes in the first season of the Badlands where like everybody's training and they're outside shirtless.
Yeah.
And, couple scenes where like we're in the fight pit and Cole and Jake or both of them are beating me up and we're flying backwards. That's and awesome. It's hot in the sun. And,
fun times.
Oh yeah.
I saw a bunch of people I knew in Logan. Haley Glass was in it. So there was a couple.
I think like Aiden Kennedy. And,
yeah. I was watching with my niece and she was like, "Oh, there's."
Yeah.
She's like, all of them all. I was like, "Okay, cool." So. But you're not competing anymore. Moved on to big boy projects.
Moved on.
I think I asked you about that, and you were just like, I'm ready to do something else. And you started a business. I think it's what you told me. You started a business. You've sort of run your own school. And now you're kind of doing your business full time. So
yes.
So where are we at with that, man? It's called Equipped.
So basically, in short, Equipped trains martial arts athletes to execute at the high level that I've been talking about as a competitor, but also the biggest thing is how can we expose as many people to martial arts as possible, and so that they can learn all the character development and the benefits from martial arts. And so we also work with school owners and instructors on how to teach the sport martial arts, because it's the superhero stuff that kids really look at. Like you have like a shiny bow staff or you have a cool flip, and it allows them to be the superhero that they look up to. And so when you can teach that inside of your school, you're able to maintain and keep your students longer, which provides more time to teach them how to just be an awesome person. So we work with the athletes how to perform at a high level, but we also train instructors on how to do these cool moves, whether or not the school goes to competition, just to help keep the students there in the school longer.
Is that what's bringing kids in now? Like they're seeing stuff on, Karate Kid, Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles, all motivated kids throughout the years to just go hunt down a karate school and learn how to just kick and punch, is that's kind of like what you talk about the anime a lot. Is that sort of what bringing those kids in these days?
you still see quite a bit of parents, like when they're typing in like why they want to get their kid involved, you're seeing a lot of confidence, self-control, self-discipline, how to defend themselves. But once they get there and you're talking to the kid, a lot of times they've had interest in martial arts, and like they already know how to kind of like kick and punch and stuff because they've been watching the new Ninja Turtles movie, or maybe they've been watching Naruto. I hear Naruto all the time of kids watching it.
It's pretty big.
Yeah. And so the parents want them there for self-defense and self-discipline, but the kids want to be there because it's cool and they feel like a superhero, or they feel like their favorite anime character, and they get confidence from being that person that they're trying to be. And so like with kids, they really look up to, whether it's a mentor or it's Superman, they'll look up to those people as like, how can I emulate that? Like they have respect for him. Like, okay,
Sure.
it's super cool flying around the world. How can I be that?
Right.
And a lot of times these moves help them feel that way. So you'll see them like land in a position and like snap up, and they're like super animated, and it's like, okay, they get it. Like they feel really powerful in that moment, and that keeps them there on their journey to black belt. And they also want to emulate the characteristics of those superheroes at the same time.
You know, it's crazy to me how much the sport karate world is riddled with competitors and kids that just, honestly, if they didn't have it, would probably be uber goofy or just not accept, kind of those outliers, you know.
Yeah.
They're like, they have, you know, and how much that really kind of brings people together. You know, I think we ask people a lot, especially at the NASCAR level. We're like, why do you do this? Why do you travel from city to city? Because it's not cheap. You know, you got to go get a hotel room. You got airfare. You know, you got food. It's just, there's entry fees. But what, you know, and you know this, it's where their friends are. It's where they found their social circles. It's where they've, and that's a process to it. You know, you guys are teaching these skills at the school level, how to be more confident, how to actually do self-defense, and some people develop leadership skills through it. You know, all these schools promote these, hey, you can learn these things, which is true, and it's not, you know, not in any, because that's true in anything. Not everybody's going to be a leader. Not everybody's going to be like the cream of the crop. Nobody's going to make it to the NASCAR stage.
Right.
But they are going to develop, you know, there's teamwork things, you know, community building. It's a place to go hang, you know, and it gives you something to do. You know, and I think that's where, it's like I was telling you about this comic shop, you know, it's like, we don't necessarily promote comic books. We don't necessarily promote toys. You know, it's like, we want to turn $1 as much as the next guy, but what we really try to promote in our store is a sense of community and a place to kind of come together and fellowship, so that people will ultimately remember that much longer than they'll remember what they bought here. You
100%.
know, you know, because somebody may come in here and buy a high-end key book, but it's like, that isn't what they come back for, you know.
Right.
And that's what I think a karate school and the karate circuit really does for people who engage with it, because it's like anything, you've got to get into it. You know, if you get into it, you get out of it what you put into it.
100%.
You know, and that's not just so much you're going to get the results by putting in all this work. You know, I used to work in higher ed, and I would tell people, I worked at a small school in Eastern Kentucky, and man, if you didn't bring it with you, you didn't find it there. So I was always very much like, you get out of this college experience what you put into it. If you want to go sit in your room and, you know, get on the internet, play video games, and you're going to be bored, you know. But if you get out of your room and you seek, you know, opportunities to get involved, not just so much with other people, but, you know, things that are going to help you grow, help you beyond the college world, then your college experience is going to be much, much more enriching, and you're going to be much more successful once you get out of it.
100%.
You know, and I think that's kind of what you promote with your equip business, right? Or at least that's what you're looking for.
Absolutely. No, it's, you know, the moves is one aspect. It's the vehicle in which we're able to teach all these things, but ultimately it's how can we teach these, you know, kids things that are cool to keep them there, so that they can one day get on the demo team and then the demonstration team inside the school, and then they get to go perform at the local high school or the local college, or even sometimes you see them at like, bigger sporting events as a crew, as a team, going out there, performing what they love to do. They have the camaraderie, and that's just a memory that they'll have forever. They can fall back on like, hey, I got to go do this presentation in college. I'm a little nervous, but they can think back like, oh, I performed in front of a couple hundred people. That's pretty cool. I can do this no problem. So it's a really special thing. It's almost hard to truly communicate all the benefits or things that you can expect. There's the friendships, the discipline, the character building. Confidence is a big thing. Most people that earn their black belt typically go on to do something crazy, whether it's they become a doctor, lawyer. I mean, it's not just brain surgeon. Yeah. I know at least one of those, so
I don't know how that guy does what he does.
I don't know. He's crazy.
He's not made like everybody.
No, it's built different.
Yeah. Shout out to Jackson Rudolph.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, you're right. Well, that thing about achieving a black belt is it's like anything. You've got a reward. You put the time in. You work for it. And at the end of that, journey, you're going to have, you say, I actually completed this. And there's nothing like completing stuff, like that sense of completion, and because so many people want to jump into this, they get excited in front, but it's the ones that really stick with it that are going to, they're going to be completers, and they're going to be finishers, the doers out there. Yeah, it's such a cool. I never got my black belt, by the way. I dropped out at third, the green belt.
Got to change that.
Nah, man, I don't really care about it. I was I don't know why. We all took it at one point.
Mm-hmm.
My younger brother got his black belt. I think Toby's been pretty close twice. He just never. I don't know, but I was like, I just got into basketball.
Yeah.
Something else.
So you get a lot of the same benefits from organized sports.
Oh yeah, I can't. All right, man. If I had to go back in time, I would say, you know what? There are other avenues I probably could have pursued to go to college, but basketball was the way I went, right? Mm-hmm. And even though I wasn't the best, I was built for it physically, but I truth be told, I wanted to be an artist or an actor. I was always into the creative space. Not to say I couldn't do both, but my mindset was like, whenever I wasn't in class, it was like we were thinking about playing basketball and working on basketball and making ourselves better at basketball to get to where we wanted to go. But the benefits of like being in organized sports for me was like, I just love being part of teams. Mm-hmm. I love, the camaraderie you have with your teammates. And I love being a part of a team, being able to wear a jersey and having, the name across your chest and representing. That to me was so much more valuable than just actually the sport of playing a game.
Yeah.
But those are the things I missed the most about it. It wasn't so much, oh man, let me tell you how great I was, because I wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm sure there are people that were, but for me, it was more about the things like that, I'm always looking to work in teams. I'm always want to work with others. The discipline you kind of have to put on yourself to actually be good at your sport.
It's almost like when you're on a team, whether it's basketball, football, martial arts, one of the hardest things to hold yourself accountable to is actually that accountability. And being on a team, you kind of have that sense of, well, I do want to improve myself. I do want to be better, but I'm on this team. And so I'm not going to let myself slip because I'm going to let other people down. So when you're on a team, you almost have this built-in accountability, which is really hard to do when you're just by yourself being solo.
Totally.
And really, if we all had better accountability, then there's no telling what we could accomplish.
Do you have accountability partners now with Equipped, what you're doing?
I mean, right now it would be, there's accountability built in through the family school. You have to execute to be able to teach people. You want to be able to practice what you preach. There's accountability through my competition team with Cole Jackson and Jake, my two brothers, and Jackson Rudolph, the brain surgeon. Like, for us to be coaches, we have to show that we are continually growing and improving, so that the athletes will still look up to us, not as like people that were good at what we were doing, but they're still using the things that they talked to us about moving forward. And then with Equipped, of course, like anytime that whether you're owning a business or you're high up in a business, you want people to not only appreciate you for what you're doing and the product or the service that you are, giving to them, but you want them to recognize the effort that you put into the day-to-day to improve yourself. So I would say there's accountability to that. Like, I have instructors that they still see me training and posting up combos on my Instagram. They can tell that I do the things that I tell them that they should do, and it's not just me saying, hey, do this, because it's, hey, do this with me so that we can both get the same outcome. So that the accountability right now is coming through a number of different things.
Sure. You ever have just a day where you kick it?
Yeah. I'm learning to
relax.
That's very important.
Have a life.
Yes.
You've been doing this nonstop all your life.
Yep.
No, man, you got to take some time off, man. Do some fun stuff. What do you do outside of martial arts? What's your thing?
I mean, right now I'm trying to get good at pickleball. I mean,
really?
That's
You're into the pickleball scene.
I'm still terrible, but I think that's a good way to still be active.
Is that big where you're at?
I mean, I think it's big everywhere, but the family's doing it now. My dad, brother, everybody, and so I do that outside now.
So
yeah.
Now you're not doing martial arts as a family; you're doing the pickleball.
That's right.
I ain't got into pickleball. I played it a lot I played it a lot in high school. Believe it or not,
really?
I actually was pretty good at it.
Well, it's taken off. It's everywhere.
I think I won all the tournaments we had in high school.
I would not have.
I did. It kind of went away for a long time. It was like something that I think people played in retirement homes, but now it's like huge.
Yep.
I think it replaced cornhole.
It is popular. Yeah,
that's a thing to do. It's big around Nashville.
It is. There's a couple of places.
So you're playing pickleball.
Play pickleball. I still get on, and when I ruptured my Achilles, we haven't even jumped into that, but
forgot about
part of that recovery process was I can't do anything, so I was doing school and getting really good at Modern Warfare 3. So I still indulge in some of the video games, Call of Duty, Fortnite with the family, Diablo, some of those. And
you're a gamer.
I'm still a gamer. Yeah, that's why these headsets I'm used to it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, man, you gotta have some hobbies. You gotta get out there. You can't be all work and read, dude.
No, it's I'm learning that I can perform and be more productive for longer periods of time if I allow. It doesn't even have to be a whole day, but there does need to be some. It's really something I'm trying to work on this year. Of you need some productive downtime, meaning you're not actually being productive, but you're allowing yourself to kind of do things that you enjoy.
Have you ever had do you ever take power naps?
I'm learning the power of
that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of a power nap. Sometimes when I take a power nap, I can actually, it seems like my thoughts start to file themselves like this. I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but it's actually really kind of weird sensation. But inside my head, it's like all the things that I've seen, they've kind of bunched up in there, will kind of clear themselves out and just kind of file away.
Yep.
And my cousin's a psychologist, and I asked her about this once, and she was saying, yeah, there is such a thing as like your brain can only absorb so much information at once. Eventually you either got to dump it, or because you won't be able to take anything new in. And that's true with your physicality too. You got to rest your body. Your body's got to rest. It's got to recover. But your mind, it's like all the time I'm just like, man, I am thinking way too much. I had this buddy in Atlanta, and I was staying with him for a little while. And he was studying for the GRE because he wanted to get into grad school. And every night, man, he was just, grinding away, taking these practice tests. And I guess, I was just sitting down one night on the couch, and all of a sudden I just heard him stomp down the stairs, and all of a sudden he ran outside, and I just hear this like it was like really fast, and I heard this banging, like someone was beating something. I was, oh my gosh, he's beating up a homeless man out there or something. And I went outside, and he was basically had picked up like a PVC pipe and was just beating up his gutter, his drain pipe. And I was like, what are you doing, dude? And he was like in tears, and he was just really, hot and mad. And I was like, what's going on, man? He's like, scored the worst I've ever scored on this. I've been taking this for weeks. I'm never gonna pass this thing. Just like was ready to explode. And I was like, dude, you've been doing this nonstop for 2 months, man. Take a day off. I literally said, don't do anything for a weekend. And literally, yeah, he took the weekend off or something. Came back the next Monday, took another practice test, and scored as high as he's ever scored.
Yep.
You know, because the thing is, like, he knows what he's doing, but you can just get so congested, right? So
100%.
Taking that time to like rest and recruit. I had to do that today, believe it or not, man. I've been kind of going hard with like, you know, I've been reading a lot lately, and you know, I've been in the gym a lot more, working, you know, from way before sun up to all the way past sundown.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like I was just today. I was like I didn't have to really be in the shop today and or anywhere else, and I was like I got to like have a chill day, and I did a binge, binge the show.
There you go.
You know. That's kind of my mindless. My dogs don't understand when I'm doing that though. They're like, hey, we're not in a routine. What's up with the routine?
Yeah, what's going on here?
But it was awesome. I had a great day doing that.
I mean,
it's. I say that, but then you know, once we get done with this podcast, we've got some business to talk about, and we're gonna be right into business, you know.
Yep.
So the grind never stops.
I mean, it's a feeling of almost like clarity when you do something where like you binge watch, you take a power nap, you chill, you play a game of pickleball. I think what, you know, hurts us right now sometimes is no knocks on social media or TikTok or anything, but it's so easy for us to be focusing on something and then we start to feel the confusion or the frustration or whatever, and then we look as a way to not think about it. So we switch to like start scrolling or whatnot, and we almost like nothing productive is being done. Like you're just here, you're just not thinking about what you need to, but you're also not thinking at all. And then we try to get right back into it, and that's not the same feeling as like watching long form content, turning on a podcast, watching a TV show, spending time with the family. Like that, we're not saying spend more time scrolling, you know, and I feel like everybody has their phone readily available. So it's like, oh, I'm going to take a 10-minute break. Boom. And that's not the same. Like it needs to be strategic actions and something that you enjoy doing. No one really leaves a scrolling session like, oh yeah, I just spent 30 minutes scrolling.
That's why I quit playing video games. It was like same thing with scrolling. It's like, man, I'm wasting my life sitting there doing this. But you know, you're right, man. That is a thing. You've got to like make time to have. I guess people call it me time or you time or whatever. But it's like that's kind of a dumb way of saying it. I think it's like you really gotta go hang, man. You gotta go do some hang. I mean, and it gets tougher as you get older, you know, because, you know, people got their own lives and people are doing this. And it's kind of hard to bring you feel so isolated. So you do spend time. What you're doing on that phone when you're scrolling, you're trying to connect with something. Yeah. What am I going to connect with on this? And algorithms know that, you know, if you stay too long on a dog video, you're going to get a bunch of dog videos. You know? But, you know, and this is, I think, that really is the suck thing about social media. It's like, it's really taken away from our need to go out and socialize and and finding those opportunities. And there really aren't a ton, you know, especially in the evening hours. Like you
should go to sleep.
You should. I do. I go to bed pretty early because I'm up early. But no, man. But then even then, I'm like, man, I'm literally just going and doing my routine, and I'm going to bed and I'm getting up and doing my routine all over again. And I appreciate the discipline I have now. I appreciate the drive that I have to get up and do these things. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, I need a Friday night, man, to go kick it with the fellas, you know, or go out and, you know, just like you said, play pickleball or do something fun, you know, go hiking.
And it's finding the balance. 'Cause
Are you teaching that with your stuff?
We haven't gotten there yet. I want Equip to be something that really does help, whether it's the business owner or the employee, find that fulfillment. But right now we are focused on what we're 100% good at, which is sport karate, teaching kids, you know. But I think where people get a little confused is you have the grind culture. So, you want to be a millionaire, billionaire. You want to win, then your life has to suck. There's no time for anything. embrace the suck. Or you have the complete opposite, which is go hang out with your friends all the time. Your time is limited. Go spend time in the forest always. And it's like, at least from my perspective, neither one of them is completely right. You almost need elements of both. And I don't like balance because life is not this perfect thing you can figure out. It's not going to be balance, but you need the grind and you need the time for yourself. And it's finding how can you schedule your day where you almost can incorporate all of it, unless you have like a big deadline and then you're going to be big grind time. But how can you build your day to where you can consistently make progress without burning out? Because there's so many people that will go this route and they'll just grind and they'll just go. And then they'll have one day that they just don't do anything. And that one day, because they let go of everything, turns into another opposite of grind season, where now it's like 3-4 weeks where they've just only done that, and it's justified because I spent a whole month grinding. I need a whole month break. And it's like, well, then you're just in this loop of spinning in a circle. You have to, like I was telling the athletes, you have to find what works for you in regards to finding the mindset tricks. But it's like, how can you maximize your productivity, be productive, but also find fulfillment? And that's going to be unique to the individual.
Yeah, I've thought about that too. I think there's a lot of times on social media where you've got celebrities or influencers there's like, you got to put the work in, man. You got to get up, you got to grind, you got to do this, you got to put get them, you got to do all these things and then you'll be successful. And it's like, but again, success is arbitrary depending on the person and your definition of what success is. But I can see where that mentality can be, what's the word? It can almost make you feel bad about yourself because like no matter how hard you feel like you're working, you're still not, you've not become Dwayne Johnson yet. You're not Mark Wahlberg, you're not whoever. And people always see what they see. You can only see what you see on social media. You don't really see all the behind the scenes struggles and strifes and the bad stuff because people aren't going to put that on there unless they're just dumb, which don't get me wrong. There's some of that on there. But I think, that can be a trap too. Like you're right. You can get into that mindset and just really kind of, work yourself into a worse state than if you just, like you said, find your productivity level. What can I accomplish today? And sometimes it's as simple as like, what can I do today to get me to tomorrow?
Yep.
That's the survivor man mentality. It's like, what can I do today to get to tomorrow? And then that's all you got to focus on. And that's all you got. And before you know it, you've made these tremendous strides.
Yep. And you're able to keep going because you're not trying to move a mountain every day.
You don't need to.
How can I just move forward a little bit? How can I build my day to where I know that if I make continual progress over a period of time, then I'm going to get to my end goal. I feel that you see too many people it's what, January 7th? How many people on the 31st of December said, I'm not going to drink alcohol this year. I'm going to lose 85 pounds. I'm also going to run 17 marathons. I'm like, they have all these crazy, maybe 17 is too much, but they have all these crazy goals and they hit the ground running. They wake up at 5 a.m. on January 1st and they do that for 3 days. But that's so different than what their normal is that they're 6 days into it. They've already quit and they've given up this whole year. They'll get it next year.
You see that a lot?
Go to the gym in the beginning of January and look at it at the end.
My gym is always packed. Always packed. There's a lot of people in my gym that are like pretty consistent. I see a lot of the same faces. It's really never like, honestly, I think New Year's Day was like the slowest day I've seen. But like, I think it also depends on what time of day you go there, but it's always busy. It's one of those, it's just right over here. It's like a 24-hour gym, but man, it's like, there's never like not people in there.
Right.
Never. Except maybe in the middle of the night, but I've never been over there in the middle of the night. Although it would be kind of neat to do once. But no, man, you're right though. It's like you get jazzed up about stuff and it's like, what's that fuel? What's that fire that's going to keep you going when it gets hard? And it's going to get hard, man. It's going to get hard. It's going to get frustrating. You're going to take setbacks. Setbacks are the worst, because you feel like you've got all this progress and something comes along, like, whether it's a car problem or you hurt yourself or whatever. You just get in a weird mindset, but it's like, how do you keep going? And I think the truth is, it's like, you've just got to know you're going to get knocked down. You're going to fall. You're going to get hurt. Something's going to come up. It's just, how do you respond to that? It's the real trick,
Yep.
So it's like you and your Achilles, your literal Achilles heel.
Yep.
How'd you tear your Achilles?
I was doing a performance over in Doha, Qatar, near, it was in the Middle East, and I did a round off, which is a gymnastics move, and it just
popped.
Bam. Exploded mid-show. Went to take a step forward. Somehow I landed it. I don't know. I landed on the ruptured heel, which should not have happened, and took a step, fell down, because if you haven't ruptured your Achilles before, then if you have ruptured it, then you would know that you can't use that foot anymore. It's done. And so, just exploded over in the Middle East.
That must have been a fun plane ride.
Oh, it was great.
Get some drugs.
I remember. No. I do remember trying to get like a wheelchair when I was in the airport, and they brought me like a water bottle. The language barrier. So
but you couldn't wait to get home.
Yeah, I was ready. I think my parents were probably more ready because I was only like.
Were they with you?
14. No, I was only like 14 or 15. Like I was young to
by
rupture
yourself?
my Achilles. And I was with a team, Sideswipe.
Oh, okay.
Some of those people I mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
we were over there performing, and
I forgot about Sideswipe. We were on Sideswipe.
Yeah.
Done a lot of cool stuff, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I forget to talk about all of
I
it.
do too. I forget what you've done, and I'm like, let's talk about that. You got the whole brother thing.
Yeah.
Because there was a time like you would get on stage and it would be you competing against your brothers.
Yeah.
Which is like, all right.
It's a whole different experience.
You guys ever talk trash and?
No, because we were always trying to be the best that we could be. I think there's probably the most, competitive nature between me and a sibling would be when Cole and I were doing synchronized form, like doing the same performance, in sync with each other at the same time. And Jake and Jackson, my other brother with the brain surgeon. And so there was friendly rivalry there, but it was cool. That's
awesome, dude. Well, so what's tomorrow hold? What's the future looking like?
Man, we're gonna, biggest thing that I'm working on is going back to how can Equipped get as many people to experience martial arts and the character development, the family, all of those things that just help them find a fulfilling, happy life, and I truly believe that the confidence and self-discipline primarily that martial arts can give you, if you can tap into that, then there's nothing that can stop you later in life. Like if you are confident, then you can execute in the moment where it's hard. And if you have self-discipline, then you know that you'll do the things that you need to do to have that confidence. And so really we just, kind of relaunched our Equipped training to where instead of doing like 5 weeks of training and then 4 weeks off and then 5 weeks of training, we're now training all the time. So it's a weekly time that we work with all the instructors and schools that we're training. We're building out a online learning platform where we'll have tutorials and videos of all the things that they can have 24/7 access to. And so that's our main focus is like how can we get 100 schools, dedicated to themselves, but then ultimately dedicated to their students to help people once again get back to that martial arts. But really it's the confidence and self-discipline that will help these kids with anything, getting into college, bullying. I truly feel that you can do what you need to do if you have those two skill sets.
Solid note to end on, bro. All right, man. Where can we find you? Where do we find you these days, Reid?
So you can find me on most social media platforms at Reid Presley, ReidPresley.
#Reid Presley.
That's right. Instagram is probably my biggest one, but you can find me on all the other ones as well.
Cool, man. Well, we'll definitely keep an eye out for you. We've got some cool stuff in the works. So, man, thanks for coming over here. I know we got a lot more work to do tonight, and I wanted to kind of just talk to you for a little bit before we got going. But I hope we can do this again soon. get it going back on. All right, bro. I will. I'll see you here in about 5 minutes because we're gonna go do some. Hopefully, we got something to eat here because I'm getting real hungry.
Yep. Same.
All right, brother. Follow Reid on his social medias. Be sure to follow us, like, and subscribe to this podcast, and share it with all your friends. And we will see you again real soon.
Yes, sir.